This is Dustin Johnson with AgYield, and today we're going to talk about the Crop Prophet software and data that's integrated within AgYield. And with us today, we have Jan Dutton from Crop Prophet to go over that. So thanks for joining us, Jan.
Sure, Dustin. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate the opportunity to provide a little bit more information about Crop Prophet. If you don't mind, I'm going to give just a brief introduction. Crop Prophet is actually produced by a company, our company called Prescient Weather. And we are a small company of 3 PhD meteorologists. And so we come at our science with a very strict regimen. And we are trying to find opportunities where weather conditions and climate information can really help business situations. And in particular, we focus on agriculture and energy. So we've created Crop Prophet, which is a weather-driven crop yield forecast solution, combining the USDA county level yield and production information from 1981 to 2002. And using that yield and production data, we combine it with daily county level weather data to find the optimal relationship between weather conditions and corn, soybeans, and wheat yield. And we do that based on a machine learning model that we've created over the past 15 years. And so within our tool, we are forecasting at the county level, but we're really trying to roll up our forecast to create the most accurate possible national level forecast. The reason we're trying to do that is the national level forecast is what is really driving the corn and soybean futures prices. And so when the volatility is occurring in the market due to weather, it's because usually some complex situation is occurring or there is a risk to the crop. And so we're trying to model the impact of that weather on the crop. And because we're then modeling that impact, we're trying to get ahead of the market in terms of risks to production, or the opposite would be opportunities for production. So in terms of perfect weather, producing a higher than normal yield or production. So within our tool, we provide access to our corn, soybean, and wheat yield forecasts that are updated daily. And so we're updating the forecasts as the weather is evolving during the season. And what we're looking at now is a corn yield forecast of about 178.7 bushels per acre here towards the latter third of July, 2023. But this number is evolving continuously as weather conditions evolve. Some of the other capabilities that we offer our customers are, given that we've created a model that relates weather conditions to end of season yield, we can take weather forecasts such as the European ECMWF model or NOAA's Global Ensemble Forecast System and estimate what the weather forecast implies for changes in the corn or soybean yield forecast in the next 15 days. So in the map that we're looking at, this morning's European model suggests the most likely change in the corn yield forecast over the next 15 days is a decline of 0.2 bushels per acre. And so if the forecast is perfect, what should happen is 15 days from now, our corn yield forecast will be lower by 0.2 bushels per acre. And we see in the map on the screen that there's definitely geographic variations, and that is driven by the differences in the weather forecast from the ECMWF. And so just in summary, what we're trying to do is we're trying to quantify the impact that weather has on grain yields and grain production. A couple of the benefits that provides is that this is an objective solution, meaning it is not subject to market hype or market excitement. It is a statistical process based on what has happened over the last 37 years. And if there's something really exciting in the market going on, our system doesn't really care. It just churns out a yield forecast day in and day out. One of the other benefits for producers is that it helps avoid the out the window bias, which is that folks may get a perception of the national scene is similar to what they're seeing out their window or driving around in their community, when in reality, across the corn growing region or soybean growing regions of the country, there could be vast differences in the conditions that are impacting the national yield and therefore the corn and soybean futures prices. So in addition to this yield forecasting, we also provide some more fundamental weather information. So for example, what we're looking at is temperatures over the past 7 days. and we see the blue areas are colder than normal conditions, and the red areas are warmer than normal conditions. And so within the application, we're showing conditions for specific months over the last 7 through last 180 days. And then we're also providing information about the forecasts as well. So for example, the European model from this morning's forecast shows that the corn crop is likely going to be 2.3 degrees warmer than normal over the next 15 days. So heat over the past 30 days or so has been relatively benign. And we can look at that by taking a look at temperatures over the last 30 days. We see, in fact, over the last 30 days, temperatures on average have been about 1.5 degrees cooler than normal. But if we look at the forecast, we see now we're headed towards a warmer than normal period for the most part. We can also look at precipitation. So in the last couple of weeks, really in the last week and a half, the models have turned dry again. And so the ECMWF is forecasting 61% of normal precipitation for the corn crop on average and 59% for the soybean crop on average. So we had a very dry spring and a dry early summer. We had a few weeks of rain, and now it looks like it's turning dry again. So certainly the outcomes for the year are still up in the air, and a product like CropProphet will help ameliorate any biases that may exist in the estimation of final crop yields. Dustin, I think it's important for your customers to know that CropProphet is available in your AgYield product, and we have integrated it right into the product so that your users don't have to leave AgYield to access the CropProphet product. And if they do decide to subscribe to the full AgYield package, your customers get access to the full solution that I've talked about today. There is additional functionality that I haven't talked about, but certainly I am more than willing to educate your users about what that additional functionality is.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Yeah, I appreciate that presentation. What I'm going to do now is just talk about, from my end, what we will typically use CropProphet on from a pinpointed county-based level. All right, so what we're looking at right now is AgYield, just a demo account that we have. You know, a big part of our services, again, for full service customer, consulting customer, is going to be, you know, tracking that expected return on investment, which is going to come from everything you've done through the year, from cash sales, any futures and options, crop insurance, and all set against that cost of production you have, and looking for that gain loss goal to be achieved. So in this example, we're just simply looking at corn. We've got 1,000 acres in this demo account, and we're expecting 220 bushels per acre is what we had started for a preliminary number, which is an APH example farmer in this case. So with everything we've done so far this year through cash sales and futures and options on the track record, let's say at that 220 yield, we're just shy of our $100 per acre goal, or $100,000 on this 1,000 acre. We're sitting at about a $54,000 expected return if we're to sell everything today and we're to hit our yield objective. Now, a big part of tracking margins and goals is that as we get weather throughout the year, a lot of our growers typically are not updating their yields on a daily basis, much less a weekly or monthly basis. That's just one extra step for them to do. And so when it comes to a yield projection like what CropProphet is offering, we thought this is a great integration into the AgYield software, is to actually go in and allow the option to turn on that CropProphet function so that your individual counties that you're growing, that your fields are located within, can actually use that CropProphet data to forecast that ever-changing yield on a daily basis, as Jan was just showing. So within our crop section, if you go to the crop section, click on the crop at hand, next to our expected yield, we have the little the CropProphet button. If I check it off, we see that in this case, the CropProphet forecast is calling for a 229 yield on this particular county. This example county would be Champaign, Illinois. And you know, everyone's going to have their own opinion of how they deviate from the county on any given year, or especially within the year, if you've got certain, you know, good aspects or poor aspects, depending on where you are within that county. You can actually go in there and change your own yield deviation as well. So if I think that on average, I'm going to outpace the county by 5 bushels the acre, we can take that ever-changing county-based yield that Crop Prophet is forecasting, add our deviation, and we end up with the 234 yield in its place. So I'm just going to say, because we're at a 220 APH, that we're going to put this at 0. And how that changes the expected return is huge, because as we're targeting return on investment, that $55,000 that we were originally just forecasting for an underlying profit based on the static yield we've been using now puts us back up to 105,000, which triggers our gain loss goal function to notify the grower, our full service customers, that is, and notify the advisor that, hey, a goal has been achieved through price and yield. Perhaps there's something we should be doing about this to lock in a higher margin, depending on if we agree with that yield expectation or not. It's just another way for us to scope the market and decide if a decision around marketing needs to be made around it. The other thing that is really important, and I think this is a great example year of how we would use something like this, is ECO and SCO products. So ECO and SCO insurance products, they'll use county-based yield estimations for generating a payment. A lot of times what we're going to be doing is marketing around where we think that crop insurance floor is expected to come in at. And at this very moment, we've got corn trading around 546. That's well below the 591 spring price. So some of these larger 95% ECO policies at expected county-based yields are triggering a decent sized payment right now. If we go in and we want to make an objective, non-emotional assumption about where county-based yields are heading and how that influences that insurance policy, we can also turn Crop Prophet on within the insurance section. So previously, the Crop Prophet, the target trendline yield for Champaign County would be 221.9 from the RMA. Now with Crop Prophet turned on, it's turning that up to 229, just what we were looking at in the crop section earlier. All right, by saving this, we'll go back to that account summary and we can see that that's actually going to influence where, how large of a payment we'd be expecting to see, because a higher payment or higher yield on the county-based level is actually going to reduce the insurance payment that we should be receiving. So in this case, we went from a $33,000 or $33 an acre payment down to a $0 payment based on that above trendline yield expectation. Now, again, this is still a forecast. There's going to be a lot of year left to get to the end, and the yield's going to be whatever it's going to be. But making educated, objective decisions around crop insurance, we find that to be a lot easier with a third-party yield assumption coming from Crop Prophet. So, a lot of ways to use Crop Prophet within the software. Again, it's another thing you can decide to turn on or not turn on per what you're looking at through the year, and that's something you get as a full service customer with AgYield. Beyond what we've shown today, we also have the maps, like Jan was mentioning, built right into our dashboard, so you can flip between precipitation, satellite NDVI, and average temperature, and you can get to the full Crop Prophet software right into within AgYield software as well. That's integrated right in. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to give our office a call, and we can walk through any more details, or questions you can think of. Thank you, Jan, for being on today. Really appreciate your insight into this.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.